The Dice Tower is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. This episode is sponsored by the Op, also known as USAopoly.
The Dice Tower, episode 705, MCU.
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them.
In today's show, Mandy and I try not to talk about Marvel Champions the whole episode. Nessie makes an appearance, and we'll wrap up with a game pie full of storytelling games. I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
And I'm Andy Hutchinson.
Welcome back, everybody. It's lovely to have you here for another episode of the Dice Tower podcast.
Yes.
Mandy and I have been... Mandy and Ashley are bad influences.
Okay.
And you should not listen to them.
Whoa. It's you and Ashley that influenced me.
No, it's not. Oh. As you all know, Mandy and I have a good friend named Ashley who we sometimes stream with, and we call her the Shark because she's astonishingly good at games. And the three of us, kind of together, have delved into Marvel Champions. We all managed to avoid it up until now.
Right?
But the problem is now there's so much, it makes it really easy to go in hard and go in fast.
I also blame my friend David, who I also stream with on occasion, because he had actually told me about Marvel Champions so long ago, and I was like, no, I don't have time. And then after we all sat down and revisited it, I was like, oh, good gravy, I must have.
Well, sure, like Roy on the Dice Tower crew just loves the game and does some amazing customization. Like, he's making custom foil cards himself.
Oh, wow.
He figured out this foil printing system, and it's double layer. He has to sleeve it, but I mean, they look phenomenal. I don't know. Like, a lot. We all know we're late to the train on this one, but now we are blowing that steam whistle and going full. So Mandy and I have a big debate now about how we want to sleeve our Marvel Champions.
Right. And I think we should propose this to everybody listening. You don't have to respond to it, or you can, totally fine if you want. I think there's so many choices. I love those Marvel backed sleeves, the ones that have the art on them, the ones that are specific to the
Captain
heroes.
Marvel ones look so good, and the Captain America,
nice. But the problem is, and for those who do play this will know this, if you do that and you plan on deck building, you're going to have to swap cards out. So I'm like, I don't know. But then I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I will just make my own colors, because the cards have colored backs already designated if they're heroes and villains and whatnot. But I want my own colors. So I want pink backs, purple backs, and black-backed cards that are matte, of course.
Very
and these will
nice
denote,
color scheme.
Right. The heroes, the villains, and is it encounter? No.
Events or whatever,
Events or something to that effect. So those are the three colors I want to work with, so I want to make my own colors. So that's how I'm thinking I'm going to go. And then clear sleeves for the cards that flip double-sided, which I think are the actual, like, hero card. So that's my idea. But then I think you were talking about a little loop that was thrown in there with the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp. Yeah, they had the folding cards, like the Transformer TCG cards.
Yes.
So cool. No, I got you covered on that. There are side-loading sleeves, Mandy, that we can use. And I did fully sleeve my Transformers TCG, including the folding combiners. I got you covered. I'll show you how to do it.
Yes, tell me your secrets.
But along those lines, I think that likely influenced our title poll for today's episode, MCU. We figured we'd ask y'all, what's your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film? Mm-hmm. Now, I have not seen all of the MCU films. I have not even seen Civil War. I have not seen Civil War. I haven't seen Age of Ultron, and I have not seen Endgame.
Disney Plus.
I have Disney Plus. I just haven't sat down and done it. So I do have a favorite, but I'm sure I'll pick wrong.
No, I don't think there's any such thing as picking the wrong one. They're all very good.
So we'll toss that poll up onto Board Game Geek. I don't know. This one feels like it could be as controversial as the best Starfleet captain.
I don't know. I think this one might get a little ugly, but I think we'll come to a consensus, but there might be a little tension, and then we'll all be happy again. I think that's going to happen here.
I'm looking forward to seeing the poll results, that's for sure. And from last episode's poll, our M&M's insider, what's your favorite M&M flavor? And Mandy, you were right, Little Ms. Canada, that it became very clear in the responses to the poll that America, the United States, gets a lot of flavors that the rest of the world doesn't get.
Right. Absolutely.
But that said, a pretty strong leader rose to the top with 31% of y'all saying peanut M&Ms are the best M&M.
Okay.
Right after that, 25% of you said peanut butter M&Ms. They are really good. And then in third place, the good old classic plain milk chocolate M&M, 12.5.
You might as well have a Smartie at that point. No, thank you.
Canadian style Smartie.
Canadian style Smartie, correct.
And hey, 4.5% of you did indeed say you hate M&Ms. And that's okay. That's okay. We still love you.
Oh, no, I'm totally on board with that. I especially love you. I don't think I love M&Ms, to be honest.
Honestly, my 12-year-old doesn't like them. She trades her M&Ms for Skittles with her friends and like Halloween candy and stuff.
I hope they're the tropical Skittles. Those are fantastic. Okay, I digress.
That's another episode. That's another poll, okay. Mandy. Don't get ahead of us. Come on. So thank you, everybody, for your comments and votes in our very important M&M's Insider Title Poll. We have so much fun with this. It's great. I love seeing the discussion. Like, 2 people voted for white chocolate M&Ms, and one of the people who voted said, "Hey, where's my white chocolate M&M, buddy?" It's like making friendships online through M&Ms and Dice Tower. I think that's beautiful.
I do too.
But that's enough about candy for this show.
Mm-hmm.
Before we jump into the games that we've been playing, Mandy, I know you got more Papillon Mariposa's feedback.
I did. So if you haven't listened to previous podcasts, you're just jumping in maybe for the first time, I had requested people send me what butterfly is in the language that they speak or a language that they know. And we got a few, and I know a couple of people didn't quite make the deadline for that podcast, so I did get a few more. So I'm going to share them, and my apologies in advance if I don't say it perfectly. You can send me an audio to my email to tell me exactly how to say it, but here we go. So Elon and Shmuel sent me how to say butterfly in Hebrew, and it is parpar, which I thought was really nice, the way that sounded. So, parpar, there you go. Add that one to my little list. No, thank you for that. And then we have butterfly in Norwegian from Christian. And it's, okay, here we go. Sommerfugel. Sommerfugel. I hope I said that right. I feel like I didn't roll my R enough there, but I thought that was really nice too. And I feel like I've heard this word before. And I don't know if it was on a TV or a movie, so there you go. So if you all are keeping track, you can add those to your dictionary of words as well. So thank you all for sending me that. And yeah, if you missed the deadline, you want to send it again, I will absolutely take a look at it. Thank you.
We'll have some games to chat about and an app coming up. So let's just get to the good stuff. Enough of this chit-chat.
So, what have you been playing lately?
Mandy, obviously with the pandemic and kind of being in quarantine and things like that, it seems like such a great opportunity to play board games and dig in. But depending on who your quarantine mates are or what your quarantine bubble looks like, it can be a challenge to get games played. I've been really lucky in that I've been playing a lot of games, and I've been playing a lot of games with my family. And it's been a lot of fun. I've talked about this a little bit before, a little bit of a challenge because my kids especially don't always love learning new games. They like playing games, but the learning of the new game is not their favorite, even if I'm reading the rule book and all that good stuff. That said, sometimes games show up and people are just like, oh, what's this? And this game is one of those. Block Ness. Block Ness, not Loch Ness. Block Ness.
All right.
This is from Blue Orange Games. It's designed by Laurent Escoffier, and the art is by Christine Alcouf. and Simon Duché. And it retails in the US for $25. So not a hugely expensive game, especially when you open it up. And it's just chock full of these skinny little plastic pieces in 4-player colors. And they represent this snake-like Loch Ness creature that you're going to be creating. There's also like a perforated board that's like it's a thick cardboard sheet that's got a ton of holes punched into it, laid out in a grid, and that's actually going to be your playing surface. You put that in the box on the insert, it rests up, and then you're going to be putting these pieces into those holes. Basically, all these pieces look like U's with little pegs at the ends. And imagine a snake or a Loch Ness monster coming in and out of the water, right? And you see the little curves of their back coming out of the water. That's what these plastic pieces represent. And then you get a little piece for Loch Ness monster's head and a little piece for its tail.
Cute.
In every player color. So you get this big pile of plastic in front of you for your player color. And it instantly, that toy factor is off the hook. But what this really is a 3-dimensional abstract area management game, which is interesting. So all you're going to do is you're going to start off, you get a starter piece, and then you actually put the head and the tail at either end of your starter, what do we call them, arc piece. And then from there, on your next turn, you will put another arc. They're all different shapes and sizes. Some are really narrow, some are really tall, some are short, a variety of shapes to these pieces. Then your next piece goes off of the head or off of the tail. You pick, I'm going to extend the tail because I've got space here. Or, I'm going to extend the head. And then if you extend the head, you take the little head piece off and put it on top of the new piece, and you've extended your little monster. Players keep on taking turns until nobody else can place a piece or until somebody's managed to place all their pieces. And then whoever has the fewest pieces left in their pool when the game ends wins. And if there's a tie, then whoever has their head on the highest link wins. Really simple rule set. But my goodness, the spatial element is so challenging because one of the things you can do is you can put these body links so that they cross over other body links because they are at different heights.
Right.
And they're at different lengths. So as you're looking at this, you're kind of trying to plan within the limited space of the board because the game scales for player count based on how much access you have on the board. There's different colors of water, so you can determine that. And trying to figure out, okay, I've got a lot of space over by the tail. If I go with a short piece there, then I can put another long piece branching at a 90-degree angle there, and then I could come back over my own body. But, oh, wait, the only tall piece I have left is short, so I need to do, there's actually, from an abstract game point of view, you can go hard on this. Okay. You can go really hard on this if you want to. Because you're considering the length of the piece, the position of your head, the position of your tail. You're looking at where other players are placing and how they're starting to block off territory. You're looking at the height of their pieces and trying to figure out if you're going to have an opportunity to cross over them. That's a lot of dimension to consider. Or you can kind of just goof off and dunk little hoops into the holes off of the head and the tail and giggle as you're moving the heads and the tails and laugh at this beautiful structure that starts to form in front of you that looks like this weird Loch Ness miniature jungle gym in front of you. Either way, I think you can enjoy the game at either level. Certainly with kiddos, depending on how they like to play, it tends to fall into the, I'm just having fun. Oh no, I'm blocked. This game stinks. I'm mad. Let's play again kind of situation. And that's just fine. But it's interesting because it's a very cute game. And obviously it has that immense toy factor. But don't fool yourself. I think when you play with just another adult, like a 2-player adult game, it can get really mental. You can really dig in, which kind of surprised me when I tucked into this one. So, Blockness from Blue Orange Games, I think it's a delightful, adorable, toyish abstract game that plays 2 to 4 players. And it does present a new abstract game that you can take to the next level if you want to. And I think that's pretty cool. That's Block Ness.
Yeah, that was my next thing I was gonna ask you. Like, is it strictly family level, or can it be amped up to be a little more difficult? And now, more difficult within the family sphere, or more difficult as in, okay, now we're moving into a whole other audience?
Well, I think the aesthetics of the game are going to put it firmly in the family game zone, because it's all it's purple, plastic, and orange and green, acid green and black Loch Ness monsters. I could see where, if these were little carved wood pieces and ancient dragon heads on them or whatever, it could be up-leveled from an aesthetic point of view to appeal more to adults. So I'm not sure adults would look at this game and go, oh, I'm going to get that for myself.
Okay.
But I actually think there's something really appealing in the game for folks who like that perfect information kind of abstract, because that's what this is. It is a perfect information abstract game. Everybody has the exact same pieces. Everybody knows what everybody else has, and you can play it at that level. But certainly the aesthetics is going to keep it in the family game zone.
Okay. And when you started talking about the colors, I instantly thought of a rainbow because of the way you said it. And then a song came to mind. Oh, yes, everybody. A song. Do you remember the rainbow song? Red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. I
have no idea what you're doing other than singing colors right now.
That's what I thought of when you started naming colors. I thought of a rainbow. Okay, you know what? I'm sure somebody out there will know the song I'm talking about. I've called it the rainbow song. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. Well, speaking of colors, and beautiful colors, might I add, I promise you there is a tie here. So, Capital Lux 2 Generations. So, couple of things. I know you're thinking, well, wait a second. Didn't Suze just talk about this game? Yes, she did. However, yes, I know. I'm going to say it. I'm not a solo gamer. Yeah. But I played it solo, so I will be giving you the perspective of the solo gameplay. The color comes in because the art is done by Kwanchai Moria. And if you have seen Kwanchai's games, the colors are so beautiful. A beautiful rainbow of colors. Huh? See that? Yeah. Okay. The game is designed by Elif Svensson and Christian Amundsen Ostby, and it's published by Aporta Games. It plays 1 to 4 players in about 15 to 40 minutes. And it has a card drafting, which is a little different in the solo game, and some hand management. In the game, my competitor was Rob. Yes. Now, I did stream this game, and I think we named Rob other people in the stream because it was someone that I didn't think I was going to win against. So we're like, sure, I'll pick you. You're going to be my competitor. But Rob has their own deck. So in the game, you're trying to acquire the most amount of points without kind of going over in certain areas of the game by collecting bonus cards and having a good amount of cards in your home base. And ideally, you want to try and collect enough of those to get you more points than your AI in this game. And the difference of the two scores, so you add your score, you add your AI score, and the difference between the two is your skill level. And I have to say, I know I'm doing this a little backwards here, the skill level in this game, I liked the way they described them. It was very positive, but we will get to that. So the difference in the solo version is obviously we're playing by ourselves against a person that we can't see. So they have their own deck, and they also have their own kind of home area, which matches yours. Their hand of cards is limited to 2. And then they have a reserve of cards. I think it's 5 cards that hangs out. And those are actually going to be put into their home base at a later stage in the game. So it's kind of replacing the stage where we end up having extra cards in our hand at the end of the round. And those have to drop into our home base. That's what the reserve does for the AI player. Drafting's a little different in this game as well. Instead of doing it with other players, I would take 3 cards off the top of the deck, choose 2. Take another 3, choose 2, take another 3, choose 2 for a total of 6 cards. So that's how the drafting happens for me. We still have the areas where I can place into the district and take advantage of whatever the bonus is in that district. So it could be the blue district, blue, yellow, pink. I'm missing one. It'll come to me. Green. So those are the 4 districts, and each of them have different abilities, and you can alter those out depending on the tiles you place there. So in this game, that stays the same. In the solo version, the AI plays there, but doesn't take advantage of the abilities, and they have cards that tell them. You flip a card from their deck, and then it tells you which card from their hand they're going to play, so either the outside or the inside card, because remember, they only have 2. And it determines whether it's going to go into the capital or into their home base, depending on, let's see their home base. It can't go here if it's going to be over what's in the capital. So then you're forced to place it in the capital. But depending on the card you drew, if there's a little symbol on the bottom of that card that tells you, then you have to take the lowest valued card out of the district and give it to the AI as points. So it's kind of just toward their bonus points.
Okay.
So that can be a little tricky. Their cards are also colored blue and red. So when 3 red cards flip over for the AI for their turn, the third one, you get one more turn. So that kind of signals end of that round. Or if I run out of cards to play, then it would signal the end of the round. So you also have to keep that in mind too, because you don't want to be stuck with cards in your hand, because those are going to go into your district, and you don't want to be over. And when you say, what do you mean by being over? You look at the total of cards you have in each color on your home board. So let's say I had 10 in my yellow, and if I look at the district and it had 12, I'm good. But if I had more than what I compared to the district, I'm going to lose some cards. And you don't want to do that, because we want to beat out the AI when it comes time to comparing who has the higher total without going over, because now you're going to get the highest value card out of the district that's not yours or your AI. So you'll see a lot of similarities to the game on its own when you play with other players, but those are the changes with the solo. And then again, the scoring, it's the difference of the scores between you and the AI, and that notes your skill. So I think I've gotten decent, which is like the lowest that you could get, which is still very nice, because I don't think they have anything negative to say on any of the scoring skill levels. So I appreciate that positivity. And don't do what I do. What I did, I accidentally didn't count my own base cards, and I just counted the bonus cards, and I'm like, why are the scores so low? Yeah, the cards in your home base should also be calculated. Let me make that clear. So overall, I liked the original Capital Lux quite a bit.
Yep.
And I think we had mentioned that in the last episode. And this one is, and I think these are things we had talked about already, that I also enjoyed this one as well. The variability with the different tiles you can put out. There are even different boards you can use. So there's lots happening. From a solo perspective, I think if you don't play solo games, I think you would still enjoy this. There's not a ton of stuff to remember. And if I can play this solo without forgetting main rules. I forgot to do that last thing at the end. But without forgetting rules, that should tell you there's not a ton of upkeep. It's literally flipping a card, doing the action, and there's like a couple things you have to do, but you have to do that for yourself anyway, so you're just repeating yourself on both sides. So I didn't mind it solo. There's a lot of math happening here, as in calculating cards, adding up cards, comparing. So if you're not into that sort of thing, you either need to maybe write that down, or maybe this just isn't something for you. I'm not a math, quote unquote, person, but I enjoyed that. I actually didn't mind kind of adding it up and comparing. I thought it was really great for the brain, get it going. So as a solo experience, I think for some people, they may not find it enough, if that makes sense. I still think it's better played with a group. I do like the card drafting.
It's that kind of game, yeah.
It's just that type of game where you need that interaction, but it's fine if you want to play it as a solo. So is it a game that I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to play this solo today? Well, I wouldn't do that anyway, but it would not be necessarily a game that I would reach for and say, yeah, let's play this solo, but I wouldn't mind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Capital Lux 2 Generations, I know we said it before, I really enjoyed it. It's fine as a solo, maybe not my first pick, but I definitely think that if you don't play solo, you might enjoy it.
Awesome. And to wrap up games played, a game I haven't officially played solo, but I am digging into the beta of the solo mode. So it'll be interesting to see how that falls out. But just talking about the game that's in the box, the way that it's meant to be played between 2 and 4 players. Cryo. Cryo is designed by Luke Laurie and Tom Jolly, and the illustrations and graphic design are by Brie Linzo and Samuel Shimoda, and it's published by Z-Man Games. It retails in the US for $60. Cryo is a science fiction themed worker placement game that uses multi-use cards. So you've got drones that you're going to be sending out to take actions for you. You're going to have cards that can do different things depending on where you put them on your player board. And ultimately, the game is theoretically all about you have crash landed on this planet. Your ship is broken into different parts. And oh my goodness, your crew is spread around in these pods and you've got to go rescue them and get them to safety in the below ground caverns before the sun sets on the planet and it becomes too cold to survive. No pressure. No pressure. You got to save your crew. Oh my goodness. Cryo The first thing you probably will notice as you're opening it has a really nice production quality to it. Every player is going to get their own player board, and they're the dual layer thing where they've got little cutouts for tokens and for cubes. Cubes are going to track some of your resources like crystals and nanites. And they didn't just give you wood cubes, they give you little plastic cubes. And like, it's not just a white cube, it's a white swirly cube. They didn't just give you a pink plastic cube, it's a pink frosted cube. Or the purple nanite cube is purple, but it's got glitter embedded in it.
Ooh.
And I know that's such a silly thing to call out.
No, it's not. Not at all.
But they're so nice. Like, it's just such a small detail that just makes it very physically attractive. On top of that, the drones that serve as your workers are like these intense little plastic pieces that have like the little rotors. They don't move, but they're single piece. And then the little pods that you're trying to rescue are these plastic molded barrels, essentially, that look like a stasis pod or something like that. So the production quality is very high on the game. And what you're going to do is on your turn, you're either going to be sending out drones to take actions, or you can recall them. And that's fairly common in worker placement games where you send out workers until you choose to or must pull them all back, and then you start over again. In this game, though, one of the cool things is on your player board, there are recesses that you can put little resource tokens that you can gather around the board. And what happens is when you bring a drone back, you can pick which column to land them on your player board, and that will activate the tokens below it. So, hey, I brought my drone back when I recall it in the far left, I'm going to get a free nanite. Or, hey, I'm going to put it over on the left, and now I have to pay a crystal, but I'm going to get an energy. I like that idea. I think that is pretty cool, that when you recall, you potentially get something. More importantly, the thing that you get, you have selected to put there. Because, again, there are recesses, and you're going to be gathering these tokens, and you get to choose where to put them in your board. I think that's pretty clever and cool. Along with sending your drones out to get resources, you are also going to have the opportunity to get cards. These are multi-use cards, so depending on where you put them around your player board, they will serve different purposes. If you put them at the top, there's an action at the top of the card, and you kind of tuck it down so you only see the top. And now you have an action you can take advantage of. Cool! Or maybe you're looking at that card and you really want to use it as a mission, which is endgame scoring. So then you tuck it to the left of your board, and then at the end of the game, you'll reveal them and you'll score those points. Or maybe you need a ship, and there's spaces for ships at the bottom of your board. So again, you tuck the card so you see the ship, and the ship has spaces for you to put pods on, and you want pods on the ships because then the ships can go to the caverns, that kind of thing. I love multi-use cards in games. It's one of my favorite things in a game, like Le Granja. I just love that game and the way the card play works there. So Cryo also has a bit of that. Ultimately, you're putting out drones, you're trying to gather resources, you are trying to be able to rescue pods and get them onto your player board, to get those onto your ships, and then to go to the caverns where you can distribute your pods among these circles of caverns that slowly get revealed, and you pay some resources to let your pods chill out in a cavern. At the end of the game, you're going to get a lot of points for having pods in the caverns, and each little cavern circle will also score like kind of an area majority thing. Whoever has the most pods in a cavern will get some extra bonus points, that kind of thing. There are events and all this other stuff. There's like a little event timer track up there, and when you get to the end of that timer track, the game ends. Or if some player has housed all their pods, or some combination of their pods have been destroyed and put into the caverns, the game will end at that point as well. And you're going to count up all your points for pods in the caverns and your missions and see who wins the game. Cryo has a fair amount going on, but it's not what I would call a heavy game. Once you get into it, it's got a lot of pieces, you set it up, the game flow goes pretty darn quickly. And I really like how you send the drones out and this little network, the way that the worker placement works, that when you send a drone out, you can pick one of the actions that's to the north, east, west, or south of it. I like that element. Sometimes those places get blocked. I also like that element of it. I think that multi-use card play is great, but overall the game feels pretty snappy. There are only 8 different kinds of cards in the base game. You learn them pretty quickly, and that's just fine, because again, you're choosing at which moment you want to use them and how you want to use them, and I think that all works quite well. I like Cryo. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it has some interesting things going on that you don't see happening too often in games, like building out that little player board with the resource tokens. I will say I haven't played it enough to have really mastered the balance there. It's so tempting for me to want to fill my player board for the recall and have, I'm going to lay my drone there, and look, I'm going to pay a crystal, and now I'm going to get energy. And I haven't quite mastered that yet, but it's just such a fun action to take that I keep on doing it. I need to maybe push myself a little on that front. But Cryo is solid. Nice physical production. Nice blend of mechanisms. Not too heavy, not too weighty. This is going to play in 60-ish minutes, 60 to 90 minutes, somewhere in there, depending on your player count. I think they did a great job on it. I really enjoy it. So Cryo, if you like that kind of blend of mechanisms with the worker placement and that multi-use cards, I think it's definitely worth a look.
So when you say multi-use cards, and I think I got most of it, are we talking like a oh my goods level multi-use?
Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of. Basically, yeah. Like each card has an action at the top, a scoring on the side, and a ship as the main part. And so, yeah, depending on where you use that one card, it could serve one of 3 purposes. I love that part.
I think that's great in a game, too, because, you may play it one way, and then, okay,
Yes.
well, I'm going to try this card, because, sometimes you get used to using the same type of card for the same sort of thing, but it's like, well, no, what if I actually use it like this now to react to something else that happened? Now you've opened up a whole other game, right?
Right. And like those actions benefit you differently depending on what your strategy is. Like there's an action that benefits you as you're taking your worker placement thing, or there's an action that benefits you more as you're recalling. And depending on your strategy and how you're building out your player board or your worker placement strategy, cards have different values for you in different moments. So you'll make different choices. And I think that's cool.
Love it. I'm that type of player. Ooh, I was going to use it for this. But wait, there's circumstances change. I'm going to use it like this. No, seriously, that's me to a T for tactical. Whoop. So I'm all for it. So Cryo sounds lovely, right up my alley.
I think you'd like this one, Mandy. I think you'd like this one.
I feel like I might.
I think it's on Tabletopia as well.
Ooh,
so
yeah,
if you want to ever play it, Mandy, I got your back.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, that's it. I'm so sorry, everybody. I was on staycation for a little while. So staycation means relaxing, trying to get back into that good space to get back to games and other things. So I didn't get to play as many, but I promise next episode I will have more to discuss. And I even tried a few games that Suzanne has talked about previously, Cubitos being one. And that I'd like to give my impression of that the next time we talk about games played. So that's
I hope you have the right impression.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. But listen to this. I feel like we haven't done anything with apps in a while. So let's see what Suzanne's been obsessed with these days.
Not me. Oh my goodness. All right.
This episode is brought to you by the Op Games, also known as USAopoly. Today's featured game is Scooby-Doo Coded Chronicles. In Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion, players step into the roles of Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. gang and work together to decode over 50 clues in order to find their way out of the Haunted Mansion in this cooperative at-home escape room style game. Each game offers a unique storyline and objective to provide a one-of-a-kind gameplay experience. You can get your copy of Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion at retailers today. You can get your copy of Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion at retailers today.
And now let's look at the digital side of board gaming with Tap That App.
I wouldn't call it an obsession.
I would. Obsess much? Yes.
I would call it I'm enchanted.
Uh-huh.
I'm enthralled.
Uh-huh. I'm waiting for you to just continue your description of this game, because at the end of this, you will all see what I'm talking about. Or hear, I should say, what I'm talking about.
We'll see. So, folks, a game recently released, and I will be really upfront, right now it is only on Steam for Windows. My apologies. I know that can be somewhat limiting, but I know that the developer has plans to release it on a broader set of platforms in the future. And to be fair, I have been playing it a fair amount, and I just love spreading the word about this game. I first found it through my friend Ross, who actually works for The Op, and I kind of dove in head first. Dorfromantik from Toukana Games, Toukana. Dorfromantik. Now, I think in English, it's easy to kind of giggle at that name because Dorf is kind of an unusual sounding word in English, but apparently Dorfromantik translates to village romantic.
Oh, that's
or
nice.
Beautiful village kind of thing. This longing for the countryside. And what a lovely theme for a game. Come on now. And the reason why we're talking about it here is Dorfromantik is a tile laying game. Flat out. It is a digital tile laying game that very clearly has mechanisms that are rooted in the analog world. It's all hexagons, and on these hexagons, you're going to get a stack of them, and you don't know what's in the stack. You only know the first few tiles. They're going to have forest sides or field sides or blank sides or housing village sides, or maybe they'll have water or a rail line or something like that. And what you're going to do on your turn is you get a little starter tile in the middle of your board, and you're just going to put the hexagon down. You can twist it and turn it in different ways, and you're just going to, boop, plop it down. Then you plop the next hex, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And then 3 hours later, you look up and you realize that you're hungry and dehydrated and that you should probably blink your eyes.
And disclaimer, when you put the tiles down, they do not go boop, but I do enjoy Suzanne giving that effect.
It does have sound effects, though, and some of the sound effects are so appealing. And what you're trying to do in Dorfromantik is align sides for perfection. So when you place a hex, you want fields to line up with fields, forests to line up with forests, etc. That sounds easy, but the tiles are random, and you don't know what you're going to get, so you have to kind of plan. Moreover, you will get little goals as you go. Sometimes a tile will come out and it'll have a 3 in a field icon above it. That means that you want to place this tile in a cluster of 3 field tiles, and then you will get more tiles. And that's how the scoring kind of works. You do get points, but really what you're trying to do is get more tiles, because the more tiles you get, the longer you play, the higher your score will be. When you surround a tile perfectly, where all 6 sides align and match whatever features, then you get a little ding, and then it goes perfect 100%, and then your tile stack goes blip, 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 and you get more tiles, and it's so rewarding, and it's really just magical, because when you look at it, the aesthetic of this game is gorgeous. All of the different features, it's got a beautiful palette of colors. Each of the little illustrations feels a little bit different. You can clearly tell the forest, all the tree icons or all the little tree illustrations are, the same. But each tile feels a little different, so that as you put them together, you just feel like you're creating an island. And you're creating these little, here's my forest, and here's my little small forest in the south, and look at this village over here. And then you get a railroad, and then you're like, I don't have room for this railroad here. It's going to block me off. And you get really, really angry, and it's terrible. But there's all of those things that you love in kind of what I would call basic tile laying games. Here you go in a digital space. So it has animations, you're going to unlock tiles as you score certain goals. Now I have windmills, and the little blades on the windmills rotate. I have a water wheel, and the little water wheel rotates.
And
I got deer in the forest.
I know, I could put a track down, and I didn't notice it at first, and then all of a sudden there's something on the track. I'm like, that wasn't there before.
You get a little train, right? And
Very
you get
exciting.
little boats in the water. To use the word charming is to understate just how sweet this game is. But make no mistake, that scoring is deadly. And I think that you can play this creatively, where you're just trying to build out aesthetic, fun, matchy places, and you don't worry too much about those perfects. But for those of you who know the game Gloomhaven, the designer of Gloomhaven, Isaac Childress, has kind of gotten into the game. I think he hit 16 on the world leaderboard from a score perspective.
So
he scored 58,000 points. Folks, I'm at like 13,000. And here comes Isaac, 58,000. You have no idea how difficult 58,000 is to hit. That's mind-blowing.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
But there he is. There is real gameplay. There is real planning. There is real sacrifices and trade-offs as sometimes you have to close off areas as a goal. Sometimes you have to expand. Sometimes you need precision. Sometimes you just are running low on tiles and you got to make something work so that you can get more tiles. Dorfromantik is this beautiful game that fits this weird, calming, peaceful, beautiful, and intense scoring perfection, must match sides, get it. And somehow blends both of those into a fabulous game experience. So if you have Windows right now, and if you like tiling, and if you like beautiful, romantic games that are gorgeous and fun, you really, really, really need to check out Dorfromantik. Now, see, Mandy, that's not obsession.
Really? Okay. You know all the ins and outs. You know all the little tricks. And trust me, okay? If you follow Suzanne on social media, you will see the posts about this game. Dorfromantik. I'm like, oh, gee, another one. Oh, wow, she's playing it again. I mean, I'm lucky if I get to play it before bedtime. So, which is not a bad thing. Hey, it's a cute game. I do feel like this is one of those games, though, that people will either really like or really not like. I have not come across someone that says it's okay. I've come across people say they really like it, and people who are like, it's just not enough for me. Which I get at first glance, especially. You're like, oh, I just put a tile here. Oh, and then people might get frustrated, right? It does take time to figure it out a little bit. And I played before bed and just kind of like do the things. And I feel better when I don't finish. When I finish a game before I go to bed, that's bad. I'm doing something wrong. Versus if I keep going and I'm like, oh, it's time for bed, but I still have like lots of tiles to play. Okay, I've now done something right. So it's a game where you will increasingly get better. Now, maybe not 58,000 points better, but
Isaac.
You get there. So no, I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but I think it's definitely worth trying. And I do think they will have, it'll be in a broader audience when it comes to like an iPad. For me, that's a game I would sit and play on the iPad. So I think that we're going to
I would love it on a mobile platform.
Right. I think that would be really nice. So I hope that happens. But Dorfromantik, I've also been enjoying it. I'm not as skilled as Suzanne and others, but for me, it's a nice end of day, relaxing kind of thing before bed for me. And I enjoy that. And sometimes you need those kind of games in your life.
Dorfromantik, get it.
Order up!
And now it's time to order up a slice of game pie.
Well, looky here, game pie. This is no surprise to anyone. And, well, Suzanne came up with a good one. And it's funny, it's one that escaped me. Today we're going to be looking at storytelling games. And looking back, I'm like, wow, I've actually played quite a few. What about you, Suzanne?
Looking at the list, I've played a fair amount. And I think that how you define storytelling is a little loose. Like, there are games with story elements and things like that. I think we did a pretty good job of leaning into games that have storytelling or story reveal be a major part of the game.
Right.
In general, I think, especially since I'm not necessarily a huge theme person in games, I am perhaps a bit surprised at myself and how much I really value the storytelling, story reveal style of games and how many of them I actually really, really enjoy. Again, as in like past like last episode's drafting one, I was cutting games that I'm like, oh, this could easily be in this game pie, but who knows? Maybe that means we'll have to have a part 2 for this one too in the future.
That's a possibility. But I do find this kind of area of games, like I don't always have the time to play an RPG, for example. Which
that's a great point. Yeah,
I really like, but sometimes storytelling games I can get that a little feel or taste of that in a shorter amount of time. So that's something that comes to mind for me as well with storytelling. But let us start with the first slice of the storytelling pie, and I will start off with a big one, Detective. So this one was published by Portal Games, and Detective is literally that. I think it's 5 scenarios in the base game, which continues the same story, and you're trying to solve the mystery or solve whatever's happened. I don't want to give away too much in case people haven't played it. And it's intense. Like, you were really getting into the nitty-gritty. You were investigating. You have to travel to different areas, and you're spending time to do so. That's really important. It also has an app integration, so there's an app you can use to look up files or, send things to forensics and get some information back on certain suspects or people that are in the story you're talking about, which I can really appreciate. It and also kind of tracks your progress and lets you know how you've done. So similar to other types like Chronicles of Crime or something like that, but I find this one is much more kind of with the game. So it's definitely attached a bit more to the game. So Detective for me, love it. I'm on case 4 of 5, so I'm almost done. You're probably wondering, I've had it for a while, but they do take anywhere between 2 to 5 hours to complete one case. And I'm one of those people, I watch a lot of detective shows, so I'm like, I want to get right in there and get all the questions answered. So Detective for me, if you haven't tried it, definitely give it a try. It is on the longer end. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but at least give it a go or check it out. Quite good. I really like this one.
It is intense, and it does not surprise me at all that is in your game pie. First up for me, Sleeping Gods. And I'll be honest, in a way, Sleeping Gods is kind of filling the spot of Red Raven Games has made a number of board games that have these story elements as you explore locations and have encounters. But I think Sleeping Gods is the biggest and the best of them. I really like what they've done with this game. From a mechanical point of view, I've talked about before, I think the combat element is just really clever, and I love that. But the story elements are great as you have these characters and as they react to things and as you have different encounters, and there's just a huge swath of them that are so fun to explore. Sleeping Gods, a really great board game that has this really lovely storytelling facet to it.
Yeah, Sleeping Gods, I can't wait till we dive in a little bit more into this one. I'm very excited. Good choice. So the second slice of pie for all of you is another detective game. Wow, I sense a theme here. Detective City of Angels. And I believe this one was published by Van Ryder Games. And this one is also one of those kind of big detective stories, but there are slight differences in this one. In Detective City of Angels, it plays 1 to 5 players, which I think is pretty close to detective, but somebody acts as the role, I think, is the chisel. So someone is kind of trying to misdirect you off the track of the case, right? While the rest of you are trying to, travel to the different locations, question the witnesses, collect evidence. The chisel's job is to say, no, you're getting a little too close. We're going to try and divert you from that. So that is one of the big differences between Detective and Detective City of Angels, but it is set in a scene where it's 1940s. I could be wrong about the year. I'm thinking just off the top of my head. And it is a homicide case that you're trying to solve. So again, those are some of the similarities. There isn't app integration. They do have something where you can listen to parts of the story, like with an app, but nothing where you can have to punch in information to get information back to you. But definitely having that person trying to throw you off the track is a big difference. So Detective City of Angels, one I quite like and would really like to play a little bit more once this is all over.
That is one I have never managed to try, but I know how much you love it, Mandy, and it makes me want to try it. Maybe someday we can manage to get it playing together, because I'd love to have you teach me.
Oh, so good.
Next slice from me in our storytelling game pie, Stuffed Fables. And I did kind of agonize between Stuffed Fables and Mice and Mystics, but honestly, just the fun I've had with Stuffed Fables in this kind of toy world that they've created, and the fact that my kids enjoy it really pushes it up a level. They have a brand new expansion that I really want to get my hands on so that we can further explore. But Stuffed Fables is this world where you're in the world of toys, of little fuzzy friends, and the miniatures are great and everything. But it's got this storybook thing where as you're flipping through the book, you've got the board in the book, literally, and then the story elements are built in as well. The mechanisms are great and smooth, but without a doubt, there is a strong story thread through the different adventures. And that just makes everything more enriching and more engaging. And you care about winning the combat, but you've got this extra layer of you care because you want the story to progress and you want things to go well for these characters that you're playing with. And I think that that is a great element of a game that doesn't just have storytelling, but truly integrates it. And that's Stuffed Fables.
Yeah, this is one I have not played, but it looks super cute. Maybe one day you'll have to give me a little run through.
We'll trade off.
Yeah, exactly. Trade off on those. Okay, so the next one on my list here is, okay, don't at me on social media, okay?
I just got a little bit of side-eye, but I'm looking forward to your argument here.
So, Warp's Edge, and I know what you're all going to say. It's space kind of themed, and it's solo. I know, all the things I say, oh, it's not my thing. However, I have played Warp's Edge with Ashley. We played it as like a co-op type game. And even though it has a space element, so, you're trying to save keep your spaceship running, or your ship running, I should say, and you're trying to fight off all the evils, and you've got cards and tokens to help you do that. That's typical things that you know. The story, that is the reason why this is on this list. I wanted more. So Banana Chan, I believe, I don't know if it's her solely, but is behind the writing of the story for Warp's Edge. And I literally messaged her after it was done. I said, so when's the sequel of the story?
Right.
Like, I want more of this story. It was so good. And that is a main part of the reason why I do enjoy the game, but that was like the whipped cream on the pie, shall we say. I was very excited. So Warp's Edge is a good game in itself. You should totally play it. And as a solo player gamer, you will really enjoy this. But the story, chef's kiss. Fantastic. Loved it. Warp's Edge. Woo.
I do love Warp's Edge as a game. It's very, very difficult. I did really like the comic that they included. Mm-hmm. But fascinating. I wouldn't personally consider it a storytelling game, but the story that was included was so strong and so fun. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I knew it was a bit of a cheat, but I think because the story is what got this game on this list, I had to throw it on there.
I think that's fair. Next slice for me, Legacy of Dragon Holt. Kind of a choose-your-own-adventure, casual RPG in a way. I would love to see more. Whether it's more in this Dragon Holt series or more just using the system. But I love the simplicity of Legacy of Dragon Holt, where if you're not an RPGer per se, if you're not really playing deep into role-playing games, Legacy of Dragon Holt gives you a little more structure and a little less role-playing, but you still get that rich storytelling experience with a character that you feel like you're engaging with, that you feel tied to, invested in. And how they struck that balance, so impressive. I think you can play Legacy of Dragon Holt with a wide range of gamers, and I think that's beautiful and appealing, and it's just a lot of fun. If you've not checked out Legacy of Dragon Holt and you kind of are intrigued by storytelling, choose your own adventure, light RPG, this one is worth checking out for sure.
This is on my list. I don't own it, and so I know a friend of mine had offered to loan it to me, which I might take them up on because it's one I would really like to play, and I'm thinking it might play okay virtually. So
definitely would play fine virtually.
So this is one I'm definitely looking forward to trying out. So yeah, Legacy of Dragon Holt on my list. All right, well, the last one I'm going to talk about today, well, I think we may have mentioned it before, but Forgotten Waters, and I believe, is it a Plaid Hat that puts this one out?
Yes.
Yes, and we have played it several times now, actually, and we just played recently Kraken's Eye, which is the latest DLC.
New expansion, yeah.
Yeah, very fun, and we did that on Stream That, and everyone really enjoyed it. And this one reminds me, if you play video games, you'll know Sea of Thieves. It is literally Sea of Thieves, a board game, which is so good. It has the storytelling element, and, you know, it's kind of based on your choices, and things that you do and acquire in the game will kind of lead you down a specific path, and you may not make it out the first time, and you may have to come back and revisit certain things, which I'm all about because it slightly changes the story. I'm sorry, every time we talk about Forgotten Waters, all I can think about is Pantless Patty. The names in this game are so funny and appropriate for the theme. So Forgotten Waters, if you haven't tried it, I mean, this should tell you something. It's a storytelling game. I don't have a lot of time, and I think I've managed to play it, 6 times now? So definitely worth checking out, Forgotten Waters.
And I think the pig pile I want to have on here is the writing is excellent. The writing is just joyous and pulls you in. And I mean, that's what you want in a good storytelling game. The writing's got to be spit spot and Forgotten Waters nailed it.
And clap out to the voice actors, because I got to tell you, some of the way they've voiced these characters has given me a good laugh. So very well done.
To serve up our last slice of our storytelling game pie, Cantaloupe. I've talked about Cantaloupe. Eric's talked about Cantaloupe. Everybody's Cantalouping. This is a fairly new game that is trying to replicate the old 90s point-and-click adventure games.
Nice.
And I think they nailed it. I absolutely love this game. I think the mechanisms of how they did it are very, very clever. They use the red film to hide some of the text, and you get these cards, and you're lining them up so that you can look up the right codes. But really, it's a mystery. It's a story that you're going through a literal book. It's a literal book that you're flipping pages for different locations and things like that. There are lines of dialogue as you're getting to know characters or interrogating people. The whole system is a lot of fun, and the story is a lot of fun. And I think they nailed that point-and-click adventure feel in an analog game of all things. Wow, that's wild. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Cantaloupe, great storytelling game. I love that game designers and game publishers are still finding new ways to present different ways of engaging with a story and a narrative. And Cantaloupe, great one to check out.
Yeah, this is one I want to try. I'm like, oh, my ever-growing stack of games not played, but I definitely want to try this after you've spoken about it, for sure.
There you go, folks. That is our storytelling game pie for this episode. Feel free to let us know what you think. Have you tried any of these games? Do you agree with our serving of game pie this episode? Which games do you think we should have added to our list that we didn't? Now, I know that there's a big game that did not make this pie.
Emphasis on big.
I'm wondering if we're going to get some feedback. It'll be interesting to see. But we'd love to hear from you about this episode, about things that you'd love to hear in future episodes. Feel free to send us your questions or comments. You can reach me at Suzanne@dicetower.com.
And you can reach me at Mandy, that's Mandy with an I, at dicetower.com.
As always, thank you so much for being here with us on this episode. It is a privilege and pleasure to be part of your extended gaming family now more than ever. Now, some of you may recall that Tom might have, he was supposed to maybe show up on this episode, but there was a little bit of a scheduling snafu. It's amazing how difficult it can be to align schedules across countries and time zones and stuff like that. But we'll yank him on here
soon. We'll get him.
But that's okay, because you're just going to listen to Tom next episode anyway, because that's 706. And Tom and Eric are going to be talking about the best games from 2001.
Wow, 20 years ago.
Until next time, I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
And I'm Mandy Hutchinson.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is an organization dedicated to helping gamers in need. Learn more about the fund's mission and how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Suzanne, Mandy, and Eric with assistance from Roy Canaday and Rob Searing. Our theme is composed by Timothy Pinkham and arranged by Matt Bellier. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at podcast@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. right, everyone, it's that time again. 2 truths and a lie. I'll go first with mine from last episode. I like kiwi Jelly Bellies, I like chocolate pudding Jelly Bellies, and I like juicy pear Jelly Bellies. Well, if you said the answer that I didn't like chocolate pudding Jelly Bellies, if you chose that one, you would be right. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I was eating some the other day, I'm like, delicious. Blech, chocolate pudding, yuck. So, not for me.
I think you just don't like chocolate.
Nah, I think I'm not a huge fan, but I like some. What about you, Suzanne?
Last episode, I said I still own my original copy of Clue, I still own my original copy of Life, and I still own my original copy of Monopoly. And the lie is that I still own my original copy of Life. I don't even really remember ever playing Life as a kid. I know I had it, but it's long gone. But I still literally do have these old 1980s editions of Clue and Monopoly on my shelf in my office.
I hear you. Mine are a little worn, but they're still there.
Yeah.
I got you. So, new this episode, I was feeling very, in Easter mood. So, here we go. I like mini eggs, I like eggies, and I like cream eggs. Tricky one there.
I have no idea what eggies are. I look forward to learning. And new for me this episode, I still have my Nintendo Game Boy Color, I still have my Nintendo Game Boy, and I still have my Nintendo Game Boy Advance.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Good luck, everyone.